Kai Roer, our next speaker, is an award-winning speaker and author, and he's also a security culture expert. So please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the stage Kai Roer. About to join you. Here we go. Thank you, Kai.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I have to say, I'm really, really happy and proud and honored to be here, standing on this floor at CEBIT. A couple of years ago, I were in a neighboring hall, walking my floors with a team in IBM, trying to sell stuff. I will try not to sell stuff today. And it's more comfortable for me up here. I hope it's comfortable for you as well. Now, I am here to talk about how we can manage the risks that we find in those human factors. Human factors, that means you over there, probably you as well, even on the cell phone, and obviously myself. At least some of us are human. And why do we need to care about managing that risk? I'll be sharing some fascinating numbers. But first, let me introduce Mia. Mia has a dream. She wants to become a successful business person, successful entrepreneur. She wants to build the next Facebook, or Google, or IBM, or something huge like that. She's a little bit young yet, right? But give her 10 years, and she will be there, I promise. Now, Mia is not only having these big dreams, she is also quite clever, smarter than I am, at least. So she has realized by reading newspapers, looking at probably YouTube, I guess, her age, not so much newspapers these days, that would be me, that there are something called cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is something she needs to take seriously if her company is going to be successful. But she also realized that cybersecurity is not something she can do herself, so she needs help. But first, let's take a look at what she actually found by looking at these things. One of the things that she found was that 1 out of 4 companies, she told me, will experience a cybersecurity incident every single year. And then she had a break like that and looked at me with her big eyes and said, Kai, you know, that means that every 4 years, my company need to consider that we will be, we'll have some cybersecurity incident. And then I said, yes, well, possibly. It could be so. And then I, of course, asked her, so where did you find that number? She told me, well, you know, it's not something I come up with. It's not even something you came up with, Kai. It's actually IBM and Ponemon Institute who did this research several years, and they have these numbers. So she decided to trust them. Again, I asked, so why do we really care about that? It cannot be a lot of money, right? And if it's not a lot of money, why do we really care? Then she gave me this number. $3.6 million US, or euros. I'm lazy, so I just swapped it out to euros, 1-on-1. But the real number is $3.6 million US. That is the average cost of the cybersecurity incidents, of a security breach, if you like. I don't know about you guys, but I do know about myself, and Mia too. 3.6 million euros, it's a lot of money. It will probably drive most companies out of their business. Right? And we don't want that. We want companies to be successful, especially if they deal with cybersecurity, which we do. But for her, it was like, okay, so 1 every 4 years, 3.6 million euros. I need to make a lot of money in my company if I am to afford this. Or, of course, she could get some cyber insurance, possibly. And here comes the crux. We heard all through today that cybersecurity and cybersecurity incidents is all about technology. It's all about buying that hot, nice firewall. Finding that new device with probably this year, blue LEDs is a killing feature. Or maybe it's not, because it's not really a feature, let's be honest. The problem with cybersecurity incidents is that 95% of them, that's almost all of them, can be traced back to human factors. So not some technology, not some firewall not working, but me clicking on that link, or user, or maybe you, or someone else clicking on something. That is a lot of challenges, and you cannot just buy a new box to solve it. But still, we insist on spending roughly 160 billion euros every year on technology, solving 5% of the problem, and investing less than 1 billion every year on the 95% problem. And now, of course, why is that? Maybe I will share you. It's one of those things I have to tell Mia quite often. But what are these human factors? One of those are our biases. We tend to do things because we are wired to do things. And some of the things we do, we are trained to do. For example, here in Germany, you drink a lot of beer. We do that in Norway as well. But if you travel to France, they will probably prefer either a perroquet or some pastis or wine. That's culture. But all of us drink, so that's probably something else. Now, I'm diversifying myself. Anyone heard about the company Equifax? Equifax is a US-based company. They specialize in what they call credit rating. Credit rating means that they look into your life and my life and everybody else's life, if you are American. And they do this for 143 million people. 143 million Americans they have in their system. Now, what kind of data do they have in their system? They have credit history, social security numbers, addresses, a lot of personal details, information I personally rather you not have on me. Why do they have this? Well, they make money by selling this information to banks, credit cards companies, and other people who want to check if you, sir, can afford to pay your bills. Quite interesting information. Now, last year, Equifax lost 143 million data records. Basically, they lost their customer information. They lost the most valuable data they had. Then, of course, we can follow that data and come up with a lot of interesting scenarios. How I could use your credit card data or credit rating data to get a loan in your name, and then I didn't have to pay it. But let's not do that. Instead, let's look at Equifax. Losing 143 million records. What was the cost for this company? How much did this cost Equifax? According to their own calculations, they estimate their cost to be more than 600 million euros. One security incident, 600 million euros. That's quite a lot of money, more than a 3.6. I would go bust. Probably a lot of companies would go bust. They will survive, but their shareholders are not very happy because shareholders, let's face it, they wanted the profit to go to them, not to pay off some hack. One thing that we do see a lot also here in Europe is what we call phishing. Phishing is just a modern way of scams of tricking you into giving me something that you really shouldn't. Back in the 80s, I grew up with what we call the Nigerian letters, meaning I got real post letter with writing and stamps and everything, saying that, oh, you know, Kai, some strange guy died, and there are $100 million here for you. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Went to my mother and said, well, you think we have a relative down there somewhere who could have died? And my mother, and this is where cultural training comes in, my mother did like this. Kai, don't be stupid. This is a scam. So I learned. I still wanted to, you know, return the letter and say, hello, is it really that much money? But I never did. Today, we see the exact same things going on. But this time, we use email. Email is much, much easier for the scammer, much cheaper. Instead of sending one letter, which I had to buy stamps for, all I need now is to send an email. And not only can I send once, I can send 100, 1,000, a million, just like that. And even then, if the success rate is, I don't know, 0.00% or something, that one person who pays out makes it all worth it. So phishing matters. We also see something else with phishing, and that is when we target you. So not everybody in the room, but we point the finger at you and say, ah, here's the target. Now, figuring out who are you? We know that already. And let's play with me today. So this guy is a CEO of a big company, and I know that I want their money. Happens every single day. Maybe not to you, but to a lot of people. What do I do? First of all, of course, I do everything as a part of research I can. Then I may go over, maybe tonight at the bar, and come up with a nice story, being me, being nice, being kind, and say, well, you know, what's your name? Bendo. I'll call you Bendo. Bendo. So I will say, so Bendo, so I have a company just like you, and we are looking for a way into Germany. And we are considering setting up offices here. Plausible story. I can back it even. And then the question, the crucial question, after a couple of beers, I'm looking for a bank connection. Which bank are you using? Can you recommend it? And he will not only recommend it, he may even give him the name of the director of that bank. Because innocent questions. Which is one of the reasons you should never answer innocent questions, at least not honestly. Especially not the guys like me. And I'm the good guy. At least that's what I want you to believe. Now, what can I do with this information? I can use that information to make his company pay me a lot of money. How? Have you heard about the CEO scam? Or director scam? It's the scam where someone, not me of course, I'm innocent, I never do anything wrong, someone sends an email, not to you, the CEO, but to the accounting department of that CEO. So, you, sir, I will call you the accounting department. Rolf, I think your name is. This says so. So Rolf is your accountant, and he will normally pay out all the bills for your company. What I do now that I know the name of the bank, I know your name, and I also know that today you are here, not at the office. Well, Rolf actually is not here. He is at the office, and as usual, he is like, oh, I have to do all this stuff, and I have to pay this bill and do that. Then he gets an email from me, but it looks like it's from you. In that email, it says, well, you know, Rolf, if you have money on the account, please make a payment, €500,000 to this account. It's really urgent because you know this project we are working on. It needs to go through right away. Please fix it for me. Because Rolf thinks the email is from you, and he's used to you sending some stuff like this. You may, more often than not, actually pay that €500,000. according to Trend Micro, 4,000 companies dead just this year. Actually, just the 4 months from January through April this year. So people do this. And is that easy? And if it's not you or Rolf, it will be someone else, because statistics. Now, why does this work? It's because we are all humans. At least I am. I think you guys are as well. And being human means that we are wired in a special way. One of those things is that all of us are looking for attention in the form of recognition. Me being up here, I need you guys to smile and share and, you know, be here, not leave, because it gives me, well, it feeds my ego too, but it gives me that feed that psychologically I need. Most of us are like that. Maybe not that you need to be on a stage to get it, but we do this in the social connections we do. We need to be liked as well. So when I smile to you, maybe blink my eyes like that, then it's like, okay, so is he just playing me now? Or is he actually flirting? Anyway, I do like you. And now she smiled because it works. And that's the scary part. She's still insecure, though. Am I still playing? Yes, I am. Hadn't I been up here, then maybe not. And these principles, these ways that we work, there's been a lot of research into our psychology, how we function with other people, how we need other people to function with us, how we influence your behavior, and how you influence my behavior. As a hacker, they use that knowledge. They may not know the exact psychology behind it, which some of us are starting to learn these days, but they do it because they see it works. The scary stuff then is that it works because we are humans, which leads to the next thing. Can we fix it? If we are hardwired like this, can we actually change this? A lot of the security training companies, those dealing with awareness, for example, will tell you, you need to change that behavior. Buy our training and it will work. The problem is, of course, we don't really know if it works or not because they don't really care. They just sell a training. And yes, I just said that. They just sell a training. What we need is something else. What we need is a way to figure out why we act like we do, and then how we can influence that so that we can change it in the future. Since 95% of all security incidents trace back to people, so me, Mia, you guys, we really need to do something else. What I have been doing the past 10 years is to figure out what is it we can do. And some years ago, we came up with a framework. This is called the Security Culture Framework, which is freely available online. And earlier this year, it was picked up by ENISA, the European Agency for Information and Network Security, as a best practice to how to work with, improve, and build security culture in your organization. It's not very complicated because it doesn't need to be, and I don't like it anyway. I like simple. So this, you start out by figuring out where are we now. That's up there, the set goals and measure. Where are we now? So first we need to measure security culture. I'll get back to that. Then decide where you want to be. Then design a way to get there. Second step is to involve the right people. And that means understand who they are. Not only that they have a nice blue coat and smile and glasses, but what are they doing? What is their function in this organization? Are they dealing with sales? Are they running the company? Are they the account manager? Or maybe they are doing security or support or something else. Why does that matter? It is important to understand because a sales guy may or may not, more often not, respond to the same things that a support person do or an accountant does. Because their job function is different, their interest may be different, even their personality types may be different. And if we then don't adapt the message to them, it will be lost on them. And if the message is lost, we waste time and resources. Third step is then to choose the kind of activities and topics that resonates with them. For a salesperson, for example, it could be targeting the CRM and why it's important to use the security controls that are in place instead of just downloading and using Gmail instead. But understanding them, then we check or figure out what to do with them. Next, of course, you execute the program and measure the results. You do an audit. Does it work? How well did it execute? Did you get the results you wanted? What do you need to change next time? And then you run it again. It's a continuous cycle. That's the secret fifth element here. One of the challenges with working with people is to understand people, understand the human factors. After we built the framework, the question I got more often than any other question was, so Kai, we understand that we need to measure security culture, but how do we really do that? And that led me to realize that, oh, no one actually knows how to measure security culture. And that took me on a long trip around, not to Nepal and India and those places, but to some universities and some scientific areas, psychology, sociology, social anthropology, and some other stuff. And there I learned that we as humans actually have sciences that understand people, who knows how we can change them, transform them, and measure them. What we are missing is not the knowledge, because that we have. What we are missing is a solution, something that is simple and cheap enough to use for organization to buy it, implement and use it. So we built it. One of the things that we can do with when you start measuring this is to compare your organization internally. Figuring out those people at the bottom there, oh, they are not doing very well, are they? Maybe we need to do something with them. Before, that wouldn't be possible to know. Now you know. Another thing that you can do with this kind of tools is to report to your management and to the board, something a lot of our customers need to do these days. A few years ago, it was the opposite. We had to kind of go over to the board and knock on the door and say, hello, 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 we need to talk about cybersecurity. Today, it goes the other way. Today, we see a lot of boards coming to us, or CISOs and CIOs, see that their board wants to know, how are we really doing? Give me some numbers, some metrics that we are doing, hopefully good, but at least not worse than the competition. And to do that, we need to be able to measure security culture. And we need to be able to measure it in a way that is reliable and valid, and that we can replicate, something we can measure again and again, and then we can compare the results over time. Only then do we see if we actually improve. And let's face it, that's what we want to do. Which brings us to this. What are the next steps for you guys? What can you do when you go back home, or back to office, or where you're going? I know I will be going to grab a beer at the tent out there, but tomorrow I'll be back working. So the next steps that you can do is to look into your current organization. Are you talking about security culture at all? Are you measuring it? That's very good. If not, you know who to call. Look into how you can improve security culture, for example, using the security culture framework. You may also download the report from ENISA, free on their website. We have some research reports available on our website. And of course, I strongly urge you to look into fixing the 95% of the problem and not only the 5%. We are seeing some good traction that changes this, but we still need more. And more importantly, you guys need more to take the human factor seriously and not only buy another firewall. With that, Mia says thank you, and so do I.
Kai, thank you so much. Thanks for inspiring us. I think we have 3 or 4 minutes for a few questions. The first one I have is, we all are busy, right? We all have day-to-day business to do. What's the one thing that you recommend for starting to build a culture, a security culture?
So the one thing to start when it comes to building it is understand where you are now. Figuring out what is our current situation. Do we do security? Do we do security culture in a way that we know that we are doing it? Or is it just not? So an example, for example, go around your organization and pay attention to what people are talking about. If you hear they talk about cybersecurity, then that is better than if you don't hear that at all. Except if what you hear is negative. Sometimes you will hear that, oh my God, that policy again? I hate it. I'm going to download all my email to my personal Gmail, and then as long as we don't tell anyone, it's fine, right? When you hear those kind of things, you know that my security culture may actually need some work.
Thanks. Anybody else? Any questions? I'll come right down.
He even have a microphone for you.
There you go, thank you.
Hi, so do you have any tips for integrating a security culture program into a more general organizational culture effort? Because it's often difficult to convince the leadership to spend more energy on this than an overall corporate culture.
So how do we merge security culture with organizational culture? So in the efforts that organizations do put into organizational culture, where can we squeeze security culture in? Fantastic question, and I hope that that means that this is a battle you're currently fighting. Because if you do, your organization are probably much further ahead than many of your competition. Now, to answer the question, first step is to realize what you just did, is that security culture is a part of organizational culture. It is not something separate. It is a subculture of organizational culture. And because it is that, it really do belong within that group who works on organizational culture. But because security culture is a specific or specialized topic about security, cybersecurity, and controls, we also need special skills, knowledge to run that part of the problem. And that's where I would suggest you go in. To coordinate it with them, I would suggest putting forward the security culture framework, which is very similar to things they already do. And then, for example, suggest that what if we put in a workshop once a quarter, once a year, once a month, depending on the organizational size and possibilities, on this particular topic. One of our customers did, and this was actually generated not from those running organizational change or security, but one of the employees who were interested in cybersecurity. What she did was to set up lunch and learn programs every month, which she ran and invited people like myself and go there and share our knowledge. Cheap, easily available, and it generated a lot of interest at that specific center. Everybody working there were there that 1 hour. Did that answer your question?
Fantastic. Do we have another question? Quick question before we move on? Okay. Thank you so much, Kai. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy your beer out in the beer garden tonight.
I will. Danke schön.
Thank you. A big round of applause, please. Thank you.